So, I want to talk to you today about investigating child language acquisition using computational cognitive modeling, or in other words, how to understand kids using math. My name is Lisa Pearl. This is me here. I'm a professor in the Department of Language Science at the University of California, Irvine, and I run the Computational Language Laboratory there. And this talk I am planning to give at USC in the Department of Linguistics on October 21st, 2024. So let's talk briefly about child language acquisition. And one way to think about it is as the extraction of language information by young children, like these, who happen to be my children. And one question you might have is, okay, language information, well, what kind of language information exactly are we talking about as the target of acquisition? And let me give you one example, in this case about WH dependencies, that is relationships between words which in English are WH words like who and what and where they're understood. So let's consider this. In some sense, one type of knowledge is which WH dependencies are strongly dispreferred versus preferred. So if we consider this kitty right here, this kitty was bought as a present for someone, and Lily over here thinks this kitty is pretty, fantastic. We might want to ask about this situation like this. Who does Lily think the kitty for is pretty? But we can't, or at least we strongly disprefer it, hence the frowny face here. And instead we have to do something a little bit more roundabout. What does Lily think is pretty and who does she think it's for? Right? Like that's okay, but this is not okay. Here's another example. We have our kitty over here. The kitty's antics make Lily laugh because he's really silly and cute, and she wants to get him in order to pet him. So here are some things we could ask, or we might, be okay with asking. What did Lily get in order to pet the kitty? What did Lily get and then pet the kitty? What did Lily get before petting the kitty, right? So, lots of different sort of gaps, as it were, where the WH word what is understood, and great. But what about this situation? This puppy is also really adorable, and Lily wants to pet him too, but she has to get the kitty first. So here are things we might want to ask, but kind of strongly disprefer. What did Lily get the kitty in order to pet? What did Lily get the kitty and then pet? What did Lily get the kitty before petting? Right? Like we just strongly disprefer them in general. And so that's some knowledge about WH dependencies. And it turns out actually that the frequency of lexical items of words can also affect the judged acceptability, how much we prefer or disprefer certain WH dependencies. So for example, let's consider Elizabeth. Elizabeth knows that Jack saw something, and she feels the need to tell someone else about it, to say something about it. So we might want to ask this: what did Elizabeth say that Jack saw? And that seems great. It turns out say that is a fairly frequent sort of structure involving the lexical item say. Now suppose Elizabeth is actually a bit unhappy about the situation. She's kind of feeling in a whiny mood. We might want to ask, what did Elizabeth whine that Jack saw? But we don't like that as much as what did Elizabeth say that Jack saw. What did Elizabeth whine that Jack saw? We just prefer it. Turns out whine is less frequent, and that's really the main thing that differs between these two utterances, right? The frequency of the lexical items in this particular position. That's also knowledge about WH dependencies. So, question then, how can children acquire this and other target knowledge, of which of course there is much in language? How does the magical process of acquisition work?